I just wanted to talk. I wanted to talk to you about. So like he came to me and kind of was talking about like, you know, the fact that, you know, he's not trying to publicize anything yet, but he's trying to kind of figure out like how the community feels about moving forward with a new online standard, a new peripheral that would be what you know, new homebrew games would support, versus like trying to get online functionality working using the NetLink and the X-Band stuff, you know, which I imagine would be a nightmare, you know, if you didn't have the tools, you know, to be able to do that. And again, like, I would appreciate it if he got in here, he could speak to it himself. But I mean, there were several things we were going over, several pros that going serial, Saturn Tyson serial to USB. If we can get some, the idea is if we could, as a community, through his contacts or even mine, if we could get some cables made up that folks could buy into, you know, for a reasonable barrier to entry. We're talking probably like a $30 cable, versus trying to source a NetLink modem and trying to source, you know, a voice over IP SIP adapter, you know, and then having to like go through all those settings to try to make it work, you know. The idea is having a simple cable that new developers could work in, you know, basically link cable support, you know, going online. Basically that's the idea. It'd be serial to USB, you'd plug that into a computer and that would route your traffic online basically.
Yeah, I think, wouldn't it be easier to do like a Ethernet instead?
That I don't know. See, I'm not a programmer. I mean, USB, it might just be easier to have a computer, a box, handle the actual traffic and just kind of like, you know, route it into the Saturn and out of the Saturn through the USB, versus trying to, I don't know, because even if you went Ethernet, you'd probably have to use like a DreamPi or something like that, right? You'd need some kind of box to route that traffic. So maybe that's what he's talking about. Maybe he's talking about going, you know, going serial from Saturn to USB into a DreamPi and then Ethernet out of the DreamPi. That could be the case too, you know. But you need some kind of Linux box or Windows box, I don't know, to make it possible. Some kind of intermediate device, exactly. But the thing is, like for XL2 or for Night of Dragon, if you will, or for you know, for Emerald Nova, who's the one talking about this, it's going to be so much easier if they just have a device that doesn't have a bunch of like preset rules or software that it has to function with, where they can basically write the rules, you know, and create something that's going to be an easier standard. So you know. And the pros of that cable is that it would be orders of magnitude faster. We're talking like 200,000 kilobit per second versus like 14.4, which is what we're stuck with. And then to be completely honest, online play right now, as we've seen with the NetLink, and I know I've been championing it a lot, and I still do. Okay, I still want people, if they can, to pick up a NetLink modem and you know, a VoIP adapter and go
directly in the garbage can
and go experience those games as they were meant to be experienced over X-Band, dialing up another person directly. I want folks to do that. I want to keep the peripheral alive, as you know. You know, I mean, we've done podcasts about it. We've done articles about it. I helped make like a PDF guide. I definitely don't want people to abandon that. But I'm just thinking that it might be easy for developers to have something completely new where they can write the rules for it, you know, and where it just seems like it would be a lot less headache, and it would also, in the end, be a lower barrier to entry for people. And if the whole community bought into it, then it would be something doable, is basically the point. You know,
yeah, because it'd be easier to trick the Saturn into thinking that it has a system link on the software side versus modding the game files itself and saying, oh, hey, it's writing the game files to access it. At least in my opinion, like, I think it'd be a lot easier to trick into pretending it's system play, even though it's halfway across the country. And I mean, they had something like that intended for it.
I know that Trekkies, and he's not the only one. I know that there are folks out there who are kind of against that, or they feel strongly for trying to do it on the proper hardware. You know, trying to do it with the hardware that we have. You know, that being the NetLink, and again, it has to go over VoIP now because it's like very few people, if any, have analog phone lines, and that adds to the barrier of entry if we're asking
once
people.
You have them anymore. They took those away. There's really no analog phone lines.
I mean,
anymore.
I've heard in Australia they still have analog phone lines, or certain places you can still, especially rural areas, you can still get an analog phone line. But the fact is,
I suppose, but I mean, they already have all, because there's a lot of the phone freaking stuff is definitely a thing they made preventative measures of with that digital lines.
But I mean, okay, so why he reached out to me, why he reached out to us, because we're part of the community, right? And I wouldn't say that we have huge influence over the community, but I would say that we can help if we decided as a community that we wanted to pursue a new standard, a new open standard for this, that we would obviously be helpful and influential in letting people know about it and encouraging them to buy into it, because of course it's not going to work unless we have like 250 or 500 people that are going to buy into it and say, yes, I'll buy a cable, you can go ahead and do the R&D to make it. Or what he said, it's going to be pretty simple, really. It should just be a straight pinout from serial to USB. I don't even think it needs a little PCB or anything. I think it's a straight pinout. Correct me if I'm wrong, but still $30 done, $30 buy-in, a cable.
Well, I mean, obviously he needs to adapt the pin out, because I don't think the computer is going to understand what the USB is directly. It'd have to match that USB interface. So it would be Well, it would be a pin out per se. It would still have to interface with USB in some way, or transfer that information. So there probably would have to be some more little adapters in there, which would probably make it $30-$40.
Right. Well, I mean, I asked him about that specifically. I said, would it need a PCB, a small PCB? And he said, I think it would be simpler than that. But either way, I asked my wife about it, who is a electrical engineer, and she was just like, oh yeah. That would be a piece of cake to build those cables, and you could do it for cheap. And then
yeah, because even if you have to use a small USB thing, or find a way to or transcode that information to USB and put it to the line, it shouldn't be that expensive. That's probably easy to do.
But either way, the fact is, we were talking about, throwing it to the community as a poll, or like making it a discussion of pros versus cons. But here's the thing. I don't really think it's a discussion. At the end of the day, XL2 can't do what he's doing on a NetLink. It's not going to happen. Just bottom line, it's not going to happen. Waterfuel has created it. So he's already got it. The Night of Dragon is saying it's too slow. Give us more information. But anyway, okay, so bottom line. Oh, you're talking about NetLink. Yeah. So here's the thing. I just watched Retrospector's live stream where they did and I think I've talked about this before. They did 4-player Bomberman. So 2 people on one side, 2 people on the other side. Even that, with the newest settings, thank you, Sega RPG fan. Thank you for patching those games, making them accessible. And Zaiden, thank you guys. And everyone else who's involved, Hawker Zero. We are eternally appreciative for that. But even with the current settings, they were still having to mess around with jitter settings. They're still having to drop the match, mess around with their jitter settings to try to get it a little better. And at the end of the day, there was still considerable lag, because that's just what it is. It's not 2 NetLinks talking to each other over an analog phone line. It just isn't. There is basically compression decompression going on both sides, So the fact is, it's just too slow, and it's especially too slow to do anything first-person shooter, which is why we didn't have it back in the day. You had Duke Nukem 3D, but even that, I don't think you could see your partner. It was like guys were playing, I may be wrong about that. Again, I keep talking, and then I start questioning myself whether you actually could see your partner in the cooperative play. But either way, it's super slow. Like Duke Nukem 3D hardly even runs on the NetLink now over VoIP, Compression, filtering, noise, etc. Exactly. What Night of Dragon is talking about in the comments. It's all It's all, and then, there's a certain amount of like tweaking the settings in your SIP adapter to make it better. And again, like I think Joe has probably got it about as good as it can be. And they've sorry?
Joe who?
Yeah, Sega RPG fan, but also
I thought you were gonna say Joe Mama, but okay.
Oh no, not Joe Mama, but also here's the deal. Like they have recently found someone recently posted the most up-to-date SIP adapter that Linksys offers, that it works with the exploit, and so they may be able to get some better performance out of that. But then again, it's a newer VoIP adapter, so it's going to be a higher cost of entry for anybody who wants to grab that. This is not me saying don't do it. This is just me arguing that you guys should go to you should go to the Dream Pipe, the NetLink Dream Pipe that they have hosted. You guys should download those patched images that Sega RPG fan worked on. You should experience these old games like Shadow of the Tusk, a turn-based RPG kind of strategy game that works perfect over NetLink over VoIP. You guys should definitely buy into it for that reason. For experiencing those old games, and add the setup to your collection. But as far as moving forward, I have a hard time making an argument for NetLink over VoIP, because I know that they're with the stuff that they're going to be churning out in the next few years. This is just the beginning, and with the stuff they're going to be wanting to do, XL2 is always talking about pushing the limits, making the Saturn do things it wasn't doing before. It's just not going to happen at 14.4, kilobits per second. It's just not enough. So anyway, I'm sorry if that ends up sounding very opinionated or very like, black and white matter of fact, but I think at the end of the day, it really is like, the argument is just clearly in favor of a new standard, where we could just pick up an easy cable. And if enough people in the community buy into this, then I think that it could be something great. It could be something that we could all be playing Saturn online in the next couple years, Yeah.
Is it cool if I get my 2 cents on it?
Absolutely. Go for it.
So my feeling is that right now there's only a limited amount of games that take advantage of the Tyson cable, the System Link port. So if we were to adapt that currently, if we got it to where all those games play, straightforward system play, connect on a client, and you have a player, we could play a total of like 2 or 3 games maybe at the most, maybe a couple. Like this is standard retail.
Right.
The bigger issue is getting games and patching them to support that system play. Like,
right.
Because people, as much as people would like that, I mean, people really want to play Virtual Online. They want to play Bomberman Online. They want to play Puyo Puyo Online. They want to play, I mean, even some of the weirder games online. And I think the issue is that a lot of that would require those official patching, and a lot of people might not know or be able to play a lot of the homebrew that take advantage of it, if any. Because right now there's only going to be a total of 1 game so far, which is, I mean, if that does go through, which is going to be, of course, XL2's game.
Well, and I mean, I guess Emerald also wants to try, the whole point is he wants to try to work it into his flying game, the flight simulator game.
Combat one.
Yeah, but here's the thing. He also did specifically mention the possibility that it's not out of the realm of possibility to patch out those old games as well, to be able to work with this new standard. Now, I don't know how pie in the sky that is. I definitely don't think it's going to be happening anytime soon. I mean, I think that there would be an amount of reverse engineering, but nothing's like completely impossible. We've seen some amazing things happen, so.
Yeah, and Night Dragon saying even the retail games do not work with the Tyson cable. This is more for homebrew. Right. I think as much as I do agree with that, I think it's going to be it's an easy sell to say, oh, you can play all these games officially. In all honesty, I don't know many people that are Saturn fans that would want to play homebrew strictly and buy that cable just for that. Not trying to of course throw shade at homebrew. I'm just saying that to sell something of that nature for that amount of price, you'd have to have a good couple hundred fan base or people that are going to buy it. Well, that's exactly what exactly. That's exactly what I'm driving at.
What we're basically getting at here is that I mean, I know that there is easy, a couple, probably 20 or 30,000 Saturn fans scattered over the internet right now. I mean, there's probably more in the woodwork, but that I know of, online, there's probably between 20 and 30,000 Saturn fans who are like into it. But they're, they're just, regular fans, but then there's the diehard fans like us who might buy into something like this, who want to be, who want to experience the cutting edge stuff as it's coming out. I think it's reasonable to think that we might be able to come up with like 250 to maybe 500 max people who would be willing to throw down $30 for, a cable that would allow them to experience, online play moving forward. And of course, the more once you have a standard, the more developers might want to work that into their games. You know what I'm saying? If you don't have one,
and for sure. And the only concern is that I think a lot of people might buy it with the knowledge that, hey, I'm gonna be able to play Virtual On, or I'm gonna be able to play this or that game, and might not understand that it's only for the homebrew use if any retail game support it at all, which I know it's gonna be a hard sell. I'm not trying to. Like I said, I'll emphasize before, I'm not slamming the homebrew guys, but I mean this is just as somebody that wants to, like, say I'm Joe Schmo off the street that wants to pay, like, okay, what homebrew games do I have?
Yeah, I don't even think I don't think this is gonna be. I think if this happens at all, I don't think it's gonna be like a mainstream audience type of thing. I think it's probably mostly gonna be pushed in the Discord servers on Sega Extreme. That's the audience right there. That's the demographic that would buy into this thing and pave the way for something that becomes more established. And then I think it might be something down the road that could be more mainstream if more titles come out to support it. But again, that's what we're talking about right here. We're talking what ifs, but we're talking, wouldn't it be great if we had something like that?
Wouldn't it be nice if we were older? Then we wouldn't have to wait so long.
Okay. All right. Wah. Man, where's my stream deck when I need it, right? I need a sad trumpet right now.
I'll listen to the Beach Boys. Pet sounds.
And then I was just gonna. What comments have I missed?
Pardon my. This one's by NetKinetic. Pardon my ignorance to this question. Is this cabling referring to playing via actual Saturn console or for Mednafen? This is actually for the original console, but if the software is designed correctly, I mean, they could potentially have lobbying or some sort of system where you can connect with Mednafen players. That
would be logical, I would imagine. I mean, of course. That would probably come later, but again, if it's open source and they communicate with the developers of Mednafen or Yaba-san, SHIRO, or what have you, the possibilities are definitely there that it could be not cross-platform, but like, don't rule out emulation, basically. But the design that we're talking about here is literally real hardware, physical Saturn link cable to USB output, and then and just have it be wide open. Let the developers, they'd have to decide on some kind of standard, protocol, communication protocol or whatever,
and the software and stuff,
and then just share it with the development community so people could work it into their game, and it would be an option. And again, once something exists and it's an option, developers are much more open to working into their game, unless it's the Saturn mouse. In that case, a lot of developers just didn't even bother, even though they easily could have.
we'll send them out some more mouse. We'll send the developers out mice so that they can program it.
Yeah.
We'll send them more than Sega did. We'll send them one instead of none.
But that having been said, without Emerald being here and he probably would have a lot of things to correct for me, and I am sorry, Emerald, if I did a poor job at representing that exactly how you would have liked it to be. But yeah, essentially, I would definitely like to get behind this. I would definitely be interested in encouraging folks to buy into this. I don't think $30 is a lot to ask. I mean, real ties and cables are much more expensive, and I'm not even saying it would be $30. That's just like a ballpark figure because of parts and labor and everything like that. But
yeah.
Anyway.
there's definitely a lot to think about in that aspect, and a lot of considerations, whether it be how the software is going to work, how it's going to computers and interface with the Saturn, how the Saturn's going to handle like net code, if there's going to be rollback or something. So there's a lot to consider, and this isn't just a put cable in, you can play online with anything anymore. It's a complicated process, and I think there's going to be a lot of ironing out, and might be years before we can get something going for this project if it comes to fruition. But
it is my understanding that Waterfuel already figured out the net code. They did a successful test using the NetLink, sending out data, and now, I think that they are working on testing with this new cable design. But yeah, no, I think the netcode side of things has already been figured out. It's like you said, though. I mean, I'm sure there will be a repository, and I'm sure it'll get better. And again, if it's open source, folks can help out, making it better. But again, it really just comes down to the fact that he can't invest all this money if nobody's going to buy into it. So I'm raising my hand right now and saying I would buy into it for sure. I think Pat would, because again, like, you haven't even gotten your NetLink setup going completely, right? And I mean, you bought a modem. I think you have the adapter.
No, I have the adapter and everything, and I don't have I have the NetLink modem. I see the VoIP adapter.
Yeah. And I mean,
that's definitely one set up.
Speaking of IP, I think with this, you don't have to give out your public IP address to folks, No,
the way that I would, honestly, the way that I would go about doing it is I would have a like on like the Xlink, how they have that set up where there's a lobbying system and you do all the lobbying through there, and maybe you can set it onto auto quick match where it'll show the players and it will match you with whoever's available.
Exactly.
And I think something like that would be the best path, so we can have a friends list, work with people out on your computer, or like maybe like a mobile app. So like if you're using like a Raspberry Pi, you can just load up your smart device and it's like an app or something, or like a website or web wrapper that you can check out your friends list, do the matching, sort of like
right.
So like with the NetLink, the net boots on the Naomi. So I think there's a lot of options that they have for that, and honestly, I would really like to see a prototype and see something working. And the only thing I can think of that I would do before I would sell a cable is I would have a hook, like be like, if you get it, you can play XL2's game online, or you could play, or we patch this game that's retail to play online, or something of that nature. Like, because I think if they went out and somehow patched Virtual On to have that support,
right,
I think people would instantly want to buy it just for that alone.
I mean,
at least in my opinion.
I think they are keenly aware of that desire, and they know that that's kind of like something they need to consider. Again, like Emerald said, that is not off the table. That is a possibility. It probably would come later. I mean, because it wouldn't just be automatic. I mean, there is a considerable amount of work there, but it's possible. It's not outside the realm of possibility. That said, it's important to also consider the fact that with the NetLink setup, you have to have a chipped Saturn or an ODE, right? Because you can't plug an action replay in there to be able to boot up burn disks or a Kai cart. You can't do that because the NetLink is occupying the slot. So that's another thing to consider. There are a lot of things to consider that don't really occur until you actually try to get that whole NetLink setup going, and then you realize there are several hoops to jump through. And I mean, I've done it. Kay has done it. Quite a few folks out there have done it, and it's been rewarding. It's been awesome to like see it work, just like as close to how it worked back then, minus the analog phone line. But yeah, definitely, I think that this is an interesting topic that you're going to hear us talking about more as time goes on. It sounds like.
And I think Night Dragon said this is a catch-22 on the whole issue. We need to support the device, but the device needs to be supported by the community. I agree. I think the best way to go about that is maybe getting prototypes of 10 of them,
right,
saying to people that play it, hack out all the issues, have support, decent support,
right,
and then actually having that, and once that's there and you have that I'm trying to think what's the name of it, just like a hook to it, like like the hot selling point, like, oh, you could play this game that online. It's like, even if it's one game, like if Virtual On or you somehow managed to get like Street Fighter like online, people would instantly want to buy it just for that alone.
Yeah.
So you got to have at least one retail game. I think that, in my opinion, if I were going to sell that device. I mean, of course, Hellslave, but I mean, Hellslave definitely is an option. I think that'd be a great selling point as well. If you tell
people you could play 8-player deathmatch if you get this cable, I think a lot of people are going to be like, okay, I'm sold. Because they're not paying for the game, right? The game is free.
Yeah.
Might as well buy it. Might as well. I don't know. Wouldn't that be great though if they could figure out some way to like have it like some of the proceeds support XL2? I don't know. Anyway. I'm starting to think out loud. But anyway, I think Hellslave is a killer app, and it would definitely necessitate. It would definitely be something that would draw folks to the yard, bring folks to the yard.
Like, you better something.
My Saturn is better than yours.